Charlie, and today on Munching Around Milwaukee, my guest is Britt Buckley. Britt, morning.
Morning.
Oh, it's almost afternoon.
Right,
it's close enough. Anyway, so Britt is part of the family-owned Buckley's, aptly named, restaurant and bar in downtown Milwaukee.
Yep.
Been there about almost 20 years.
Yep.
And Buckley's one of the good restaurants in our downtown area. Their menu is, I think you say, American classics with global influences.
Yeah, that's
It's
a nice umbrella that I get to fit everything under.
Yeah, it works well, and we'll talk about it. So one of the things I think I mentioned to you that when my wife was being recruited to come here and run the Greater Milwaukee Foundation, they said there was 2 restaurants you had to go to. Yeah. One was Coquette Cafe, which is no longer here, and the other is Buckley's. Yeah. And we did, and we don't go to Coquette Cafe anymore because it's not here. Yeah. But I've been to Buckley's. I was there not too long, maybe a couple weeks ago, and I would have to say they were very correct. It was one of the places to be. So
thank you.
Appreciate it. So let's before we get started, got a couple things. I want to give you one of our tote bags. So when you're
perfect.
Heading from the public market and bringing all your fresh produce, you got something to carry it in. Yeah. And Britt brought along some things to share, so we're going to munch. So why don't you tell us what we have here?
So this is actually this is on our menu. This is our beef carpaccio. We do a salt cured beef, and then that is topped with we do a little green goddess, a little classic tonnato sauce, which is like a tuna aioli, and then arugula from Amy's Acres Farm, osaurati, sheep's cheese, some shaved radish, fried capers, and caperberries.
So shaved, that's not pecorino, but it's just sheep's cheese.
It's sheep's cheese. It's actually French, I believe.
Okay.
There's some French, there's some Italian, but it's a almost Parmesan style sheep's cheese. Yeah.
Okay. And then Britt made some sandwiches on Britt's the baker
not on the menu. This is more. This is what I make for us to eat.
Speciale.
So I took some of the focaccia that we make every day. I did some pesto aioli, and then some mortadella, some sopressata, some salami picante, some prosciutto. Stracciatella, which is the filling from burrata,
right.
And then some of Amy's Acres cherry tomatoes, and then I made some muffaletta out of our fermented giardiniera.
So Glorioso's is closed for the moment, so I guess...
I know, right? Yeah.
So why don't you're the guest, so why don't you go ahead and take one of the sandwiches there while we start to get started, and I'll take one too. And then... once you grab a little bit here, grab the salad, and we'll go ahead and kind of chat. Now, Tom will be in a second.
Perfect.
So, now I know Buckley's obviously, we've talked about, it's been around since, I think 2007 is when you opened?
February of 2007. We bought the building in October of 2006. And we did some, it was a restaurant when we purchased it.
Right.
We did a fair amount of renovations, but in order to stay grandfathered in under the previous building code and whatnot, there wasn't a lot that we could do physically to the structure. So we were stuck with a very tiny kitchen. And we were stuck with a very small dining room. Our original dining room we had, we said 10 tables, but there were 9 tables because there were 2 tables that were never, sat at the same time.
Right.
Milwaukee people aren't, they're not prepared to be sitting elbow to elbow with a stranger. So it was 9 tables, 11 bar seats. I believe, if we packed the place, we were probably seating about... probably 40 people, maybe 45, and that was what we did for the first until 2018, so the first 11 years.
Right.
And then during that time we had the building next door to us came up for sale. And when we bought that, we originally used it, the downstairs, as a catering space. Originally rented it out, as a living space. My sister was actually living in the apartment upstairs while we kind of developed our plan for our expansion, which, was a bit of a challenge. We combined two historic buildings. That is a challenging feat, to say the least. My mother, who I don't know how she does it, became best friends with the gentleman that ran the Historic Preservation Society out of the basement of City Hall. Because everything had to go through them. There was a lot of restrictions of what we could and could not do,
right.
Where doors could be, maintaining, the exterior facade of the two buildings so that it was clear that it was two buildings, but then have it seamless on the inside. But we really, we felt it was important because for the longest time, the food that we were able to do was kind of restricted by the tiny kitchen.
Right.
The kitchen was one of the smallest kitchens that I've ever worked in.
Smaller than La Dama?
Yeah.
Crazy water?
Yep, it was smaller than that. I've been in that kitchen.
Wow.
Smaller than that. So, it was really, it had gotten to the point where it was like we wanted to do more. In order to do that, and in order for my mother to, really kind of ramp up her desserts, she wanted to start selling whole cakes, which people had been, coming to us for years. We needed more kitchen, more space. And in order to expand anything, we were going to need to bring the whole building up to ADA compliance. So ultimately it was like, fine, let's just do it.
Right.
And we'll create the restaurant that we want to have, which resulted in, another 80 seats, state-of-the-art kitchen, which I still feel, very lucky to be able to work in that kitchen. And my mom got her own pastry kitchen, which allowed her to bring my oldest sister on to help with desserts. So it kind of allowed us to do all of the things that we wanted to do, and the things that we were doing, it allowed us to do them better.
So let's talk a little bit about your parents.
Yeah.
So you mentioned you worked there, your brother works there.
I love my parents a lot, by the way. Don't let them tell you differently.
No, but the point I was going to make is that your sister
Yeah.
worked there, your brother works there, you work
Yeah.
there.
My little sister actually, she works for Northwestern Mutual. She
Comes for lunch or dinner.
She was in charge she was in charge of. She with my mom did all of the project planning and the build out for our expansion. So yeah.
So
everybody is involved.
One of the interviews that I saw with your dad, this goes back years, is that he said one of his most enduring memories of this whole thing is being able to work with his children in the business.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that gives him a lot of pride. And not only, because there are. You've seen situations where next generations have taken over and just tanked it.
Yeah.
In all businesses. So the fact that you guys have flourished is great. So so your mom, if I remember, your mom's from Massachusetts and your dad's from here.
Vice versa. So my father grew up in Lawrence, Massachusetts.
Okay.
Went to Georgetown for college. He met my mother here, visiting his older brother. And she went out with him back to the East Coast. So my dad had been running restaurants up and down the East Coast until we moved here in the early '80s when I was in grade school. For family stuff. My mom wanted to be closer to her family again. Me and my sisters were hitting school, and it was like, all right, let's go see what the Midwest is about.
Right.
So we said goodbye to the ocean and moved to the next best thing.
Right, with our 22,000
Yeah.
square mile air conditioner.
Yeah. That
Lake
was
Michigan, that is.
That was how we ended up here.
So I know you mentioned your dad worked in restaurants, and I know that he worked for the Clyde's group.
He did. Yep.
Clyde's, if you've been to DC or you're from DC, you know Clyde's. Clyde's is one of the top restaurant groups in DC. They got if you were a college student like I was, you were at the Tombs, which is Georgetown hangout. And the point that I'm making is that your dad points to the Clyde's experience as what he has envisioned for Buckley's.
Yeah. It was the level of service, the attention to details. The idea that
excuse me while I take a bite.
The idea that it's more than it's so much more than service, and it's even more than just hospitality. It's also about entertainment. It's about providing your guests with an experience, and you kind of determine what that experience is for us, for our family. It's always been about, we want you to come into our restaurant and feel like you're at the dinner party of your best friends, and you're so welcome, and you can't wait to go back. And that's the kind of entertainment, hospitality, and experience that we kind of try to push into all of our staff and into the dining room, and just kind of who we want to be. And that's what he kind of got from Clyde's, the mentorship of the guys that kind of showed him the ropes at Clyde's. I think on the list of Clyde's places that you had, Ebbett's Grill, that's the one that's out by Columbia, Maryland. That's where I was born. So there's a lot of that just desire to make the experience memorable, not just one. It can't just be good food.
Right.
It can't just be my mom's amazing desserts. It can't just be great service. It can't just be friendly bartenders, great cocktails. It's got to be the whole thing, so that when you're trying to think about where you want to go, I don't need to be the first place. I just want to be in the top 5. I just want to be like, okay, we went to Buckley's last week, so let's try somewhere else, but we'll go back there next week.
Well, I was just there, as I mentioned a couple of weeks ago. I came in, sat at the bar. I wanted to eat something, but I wasn't interested in spending the night somewhere. So I said, well, I know they have a bar, so I went and sat at the bar. And I looked at the menu, and I knew what I was going to get. I looked at it and said, there's it was an octopus tostada. Yeah. And so I'm getting ready to order, and the bartender comes out. There's Wolfgang and I forget the other guy's name.
Probably Tyler.
Tyler, you're right, exactly. It was Tyler who came up and said, so can I tell you the specials?
Yeah.
I said, yeah, sure. And he told me the specials, and I said, one was it was a tomato salad with
heirloom tomato salad.
Heirloom tomato salad with the Stracciatella.
Yeah.
The inside of the burrata, basil, and some balsamic glaze with blueberry. It was just, it was fabulous.
Balsamic. Yeah.
And as soon as he told me what it was, I said, I'll take that.
Yeah.
But it was as you're referring to, it wasn't just a friendly bartender.
Yeah.
He made the experience worthwhile, because he knew what the menu was, and he explained it in such a way that it made it sound so good. And it was good. I loved it.
Yeah.
But my entire time there, sitting there, couldn't have been there 45 minutes, was just fabulous. And when I went back, I told my hostess, okay, we got to get back to Buckley's.
Yeah.
But it's just the whole thing. There comes Tom. It was a great experience. So this is Tom. This is Britt.
Hi, Britt.
All right, Tom.
Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
And it's a Carpaccio.
Are you on?
Yeah.
Oh. That's what I'm here.
Yeah, this isn't important, Tom. What's important is your sandwich in front of you, right? Yeah.
That's fantastic.
It's biggie. But the whole meal was wonderful.
Good.
And it was from start to finish, from being greeted at the door to walking through the place. It was a nice fallish day. I mean, one of those 70-degree nice days. So you walk in feeling good to begin with. You walk through and you sit at the bar, and it's a nicely appointed place. Food was great, service was great. I just enjoyed it. It was like you said. It's one of those places that you say, oh yeah, I'd go back there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Of course,
Yeah.
I've been there, multiple times, but having just been there. Anyway, so let's talk a little bit about the expansion itself, because when I remember the first time we went there, it was small. It was narrow, and
Yep.
and as you're explaining that you weren't allowed to change things because of the historic, that made a lot of sense. But the expansion is it's completely opened up. There's 2 bars.
2 bars. The second bar, the first bar that you see when you walk in through the main door, is probably a 6-7 person bar. That was our temporary bar when we were just operating out of the new space, and we shut down the old space to rebuild that bar, right? So we typically don't treat it as a full bar. We don't really make cocktails there, but we do seat people. We've done some wine tastings out of there. We've done little groups out of there. But once we got the main bar back, everybody was like, no, I need to sit in the main bar. I know which seat's mine. Yeah. So yeah. But it did. It opened everything up. It gave us. We have an upstairs dining room, which gave us the ability to do private parties, without having to shut down. So that kind of became in the last, 3 years. I think, a year or so out of COVID, once everybody was comfortable having dinner next to each other again, and private parties started booking in, I probably do maybe 5 or 6 private dinners out of that dining room each
Upstairs?
month. Yeah.
I have not seen the upstairs. I'll have to check that out next time I'm there.
Yeah.
I did not. I mean, I think I knew in a general sense that it was there, but it's not. You don't really think about it when you're walking in the door.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, because it's upstairs. You got to walk up the stairs.
Right.
Yeah.
So, talk a little bit about the menu too, because I know you do change.
Sure.
Because one of the reasons that they were talking about the tomato salad was they said, well, this is the end of the tomato season.
Yeah.
So we're moving on to something else. So how do you?
Yeah.
Who's in charge of the menu? How does that get changed? And I know you do a lot of local produce.
Ultimately, I'm in charge of the menu, but I definitely do not do any of that alone. I kind of have. I mean, definitely my two sous chefs. One of us is going to come up with the idea, and then the 3 of us toss it around, make changes to their stuff, to my stuff, to whatever, until we've kind of moved it around enough and fine-tuned the recipe, and then we'll hand it off to the guys on the line. Okay, this isn't going to work for service, so either this is something that we'll just run as a special, or we make these changes to make it more appropriate for service, so that we can kind of maintain the overall cohesiveness of the rest of the menu, which is one of the most challenging things about changing the menu. Is like, you've got 3 stations in the kitchen, you've got to make sure that they're balanced, otherwise one guy is just getting his butt kicked the entire time while 2 people are standing there looking for something to do. So ultimately, I guess ultimately it's my menu, but I couldn't even tell you which dishes are mine and which dishes are theirs, where we started. There's dishes where it's like, I don't even remember how we came up with that, but it's amazing, and let's just not mess with it too much until we're tired of doing it, in which case we find something else to put it on. So yes, there's a lot of seasonality, definitely with produce season. I really only work with one farmer through the late spring, summer, and early fall. Amy's Acres, she's down by Racine. Her stuff's amazing. Her arugula is, it's the kind of, you just kind of snack on it. And I'm not a lettuce person, and it's just like, you just kind of, yeah.
I love arugula.
I know. So as she has stuff available, we work up recipes. It goes on the menu for as long as she has it. So we're getting some Yaya carrots from her right now. The carrots have been on the menu as soon as she dropped those. We had our recipe ready to go, and
Nice.
it'll be on there until she runs out of carrots. For other stuff, the pastas, I think for the most part, the pastas are usually mine. The guys usually just kind of let me do that since I make all the pasta. They don't want to start coming up with pasta dishes and then go, Britt, you need to start making bucatini, and it's like, I don't really want to do that. The appetizers, everybody kind of has input on that. Same with, our non-pasta mains. I would say typically what we kind of do is we all kind of start from the point of comfort food. And then we see how to figure out how to make it appropriate for our menu. How to elevate it without making it bougie.
Right.
How to maintain that sense of nostalgia that you might have for that dish while also giving you something new that, you're probably not going to have seen with it before, or, that you would see in other preparations of it.
Yeah, I think the menu works. It's I'm not sure I use the term not bougie, but no, I know what you're saying. It's not slapping you in the face with pretension, saying look how wonderful we are and how
well. And it's that's just not who we are. That's
Right.
not why people come to our restaurant. And that's not why I would go to our restaurant. If I want a fancier, elevated tasting menu, I know where I'm going for that.
Right.
That's not who we are. So you kind of got to make sure that you're not turning your people off by giving them something that they're not really interested in being a part of.
So your mom is the dessert person.
Yeah.
Does she do all the desserts?
My mom and my sister. Yeah, she does all the desserts.
Wow.
Unless we're doing like a wine dinner or something, and she goes, "I'm not interested," in which case I have to do it, and it's like, oh my god, all right, thanks. Luckily now that she has my sister helping her, I'm no longer in charge of doing desserts when she goes on vacation, so that's a bonus.
Does your sister have any restaurant training, or is she just kind of learning at the feet of your mom?
Learning at the feet of my mom. It's entirely possible that my older sister might be might be the best cook in the family. Growing up, we had a restaurant growing up. We actually moved to Milwaukee to open a restaurant in River West.
It had the name Buckley's.
Yep, it was called Buckley's Eating and Drinking Saloon. We had these saloon doors. I don't know where my parents found them, but like when you walked in the front door, about 3 feet further, there was saloon doors that you had to blow through in order to walk into the bar. So, everybody walked into the bar and announced themselves blowing through the saloon doors. So we had that from 83 to, I think, 92. Maybe 93. I don't remember which. So, obviously with 4 young kids at home and them owning a restaurant, it was the 80s. We were alone a fair amount. And my sister was making dinner, and I was her helper. I think I was probably more annoying than anything, but that was definitely where she started learning to cook, and I started learning to cook at a young age because, we were kind of making food for ourselves.
Right.
I think you had, I know you had my son and his mom on your other podcast.
He was great, by the way.
Jack,
right?
Yeah, and she tasked him with making the food. So I actually, he's now at UW Madison, go Badgers. He's at UW Madison for his freshman year, but the second he turned 15, I put him on the line, and he held his own. It was great. So, he really learned how to cook. His younger brother is now my dishwasher. Slightly less interested in learning how to cook. Maybe likes the no pressure situation of being a dishwasher a little bit better. But it was the same. Both my parents were really good cooks. So, one day it's like you're having grilled cheese sandwiches, and the next day, it's brown butter, Dover sole, and that was kind of normal because it was just whatever they felt like cooking. And you were required to either help with dinner or help with dishes, and nobody wanted to do the dishes. So you helped with dinner.
Yeah, that's my job.
Yeah.
No, but Jack was great. He was, and you could just by standing next to him, he knew his way around the kitchen, and he knew what to do, how to do it, technique. So he just knew.
Yeah.
But he said he's also working at Sorella.
He was actually working at Sorella this summer. He moved to the front of the house. He was like, you know what, I don't want to be in the kitchen this summer. It's after my senior year. So
Mess up his hair, what it?
he was at Sorella for a bit. He really liked working at Caulfield's. Yeah, wine bar. He joined there right when they opened up, and it was great. Got to learn a lot about wine. Vinny in the kitchen over there, kind of took him under his wing and gave him a lot of crap, as he was told to do. So, yeah.
Well, he's got a really good, well-rounded knowledge of both the restaurant business and then different aspects of it, front of the house, cooking. So that's set him up well if that's the area he wants to go into. But I'd tell you, he was a very nice young man.
He's going into engineering.
Good for him.
So
good for him.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's Buckley's love it. And these Caperberries, I have never.
They're so good, right?
They're kind of olives, but they're not. They have
the texture's like, it's amazing, and it's
got that caper taste.
It's brined like caper, but it doesn't have that zip. It doesn't have that acidity and astringency to it. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the Milwaukee food scene in general, because you mentioned one thing that kind of reminded me of that. I don't want to be the place you go to every night, but I just want to be in the top 5.
Yeah.
And that goes towards what you see in the city among the chefs and the restaurant owners is that everyone's not a competitor as much as everyone is trying to kind of lift up the entire food scene.
Yeah.
And I think when we first moved here, as I'd mentioned, it's kind of but as, like somewhere around 12, 13, 14, it just started to really elevate. And I think you guys are certainly part of that.
Yeah.
So I know you have people that you deal with, different friends, and you're involved in different aspects. So talk a little bit about the food scene and where you've seen it come from.
Yeah.
Well, I have a little sandwich.
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely. The food scene has changed so much since we opened up in 2007, and I think one of the unique things to Milwaukee. And the Milwaukee food scene that I've noticed is it is really collaborative and cooperative.
That was the word I was looking for.
And when we first opened up, we were right down the street from Bacchus. Harbor House had not yet been a thing, but we were kind of in the same neighborhood as Lake Park Bistro. There weren't as many restaurants over there at the time, and Joe and Jen Bartolotta, they were so great and welcoming. It was just they were also checking out the competition. See who came to open up down the street. Why why the Cudahy residents are not coming in every night, and they couldn't have been more welcoming and gracious. And that was always one of the big things that kind of that hit right when we opened, is like, who do you want to be? Do you want to be one of the guys that's like trying to undercut your competitors, talking about other places, and we all kind of felt like, I really don't ever want to be that. I want to be able to walk into a restaurant and have them as happy to see me as I would be to see them at my own restaurant. And that kind of atmosphere, that doesn't exist everywhere. And I think that's one of the things that has really allowed Milwaukee as a food scene to kind of continue to get better and get better and get better over the years. I mean, I still think that every year I look around at all the restaurants, and it's like, well, we really gotta make sure that we're staying on top of our game, because it's getting better and better each year. Everybody's continuing to double down and make sure that they're putting out the best that they could possibly put out. And that all comes from, in my opinion, that comes from that atmosphere of collaboration and cooperation and wanting each other to succeed. I want the restaurants in our neighborhood to succeed. I want the restaurants in Bayview to succeed. Third Ward, Shorewood. It's. I'm not worried about like a great restaurant opening up in Cedarburg. Awesome, great. Perfect. Let's go visit them. Let's go show them some support, so that when their guests are looking to come somewhere downtown, they're like, who's great? The Buckleys. Buckleys are great. You should go down to that restaurant and check them out. And I think that's kind of what we've all done for each other. When I go to Good Kind, when I go to, Calakenzo are good friends. I see all of our people in the seats at those places too, and give a little wave and hello, and I think it's great. I think it's great to see so many different restaurants being appreciated and being supported by the people that enjoy the food scene in Milwaukee.
Well, it's interesting. If you go anywhere on social media, you'll see, there's this event, charity event, 10 chefs, 12 chefs, whatever, but they all kind of come together and work at an event. Yeah. And you see that. I've been next door when Brisa Del Mar opened, when Ramses. Yeah. The second day, there was Adam Pollock was in there, Rick Rodriguez, Eric Kennedy, all these foodies and influencers, and just showing support to help, raise up a new place. Yeah. And we're very happy. Yeah. We like it, don't we, Tom?
Yeah, it's good, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to have a nice place right next door. Yeah. But yeah, the collaborative, I think that's a great word, because I think that's exactly what it is, and rising tide raises all boats. Yes. And so you want to be in everyone's best of list. I don't know. I want to be the best, but I want to be in the conversation. Yeah. So I think you guys have done that for sure. Well, thanks so much.
Pleasure.
Appreciate you coming by with some good food. Ooh, it's really good food. This is Tom. The white stuff in the it's the inside of burrata.
Yeah. That's the
Stracciatella.
Yeah.
So while Britt finishes, thanks so much for supporting Munching Around Milwaukee. Each week we talk to one of our local chefs, restaurateurs, foodies, or food influencers about our great, vibrant food scene here in Milwaukee. So until next time, thanks for watching.